again for joining us this evening. First of all, I need a motion for us to reconvene in open session. Do we have, at 7 o'clock. Motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We need a motion to seal the minutes of the closed meeting, the closed session. Do we have a motion?
Motion to seal.
Second.
Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Boyette.
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke. Yes. Mrs. Capwell.
Yes.
Mrs. Nato.
Yes.
Mrs. Kapiskas.
Yes. Will you please join me in standing for a moment of silence and the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. McGee, roll call for attendance.
Chairman Boyette.
Here.
Vice Chair Burke. Here. Mrs. Capwell.
Here.
Mrs. Nato.
Here.
Mrs. Kapiskas.
Here.
I believe we have the Woonsocket Area Career Center and Technical Center that's going to give us a presentation. Do we need to go down there, Mr. Webb? No.
Hello, good evening, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Can everybody hear me? So, what we're doing tonight is we're going to present an opportunity that was presented to us by the Department of Health. Dr. Sam Schwetzenbaum is here, he's the director there at the Department of Health. We're the only ones in the state, only ones in the Northeast that have this opportunity. He came from Michigan, where he did some work, so he brought it here. He had visited our classes on several times to do some speaking. During that time of his speech, he fell in love with our students. He saw how responsible they were, what they were doing, how responsive they were. So then he presented this opportunity for us. We ran it through Dr. Stevens, we brought it through. There's been a lot of work to it, but it's paying off. Our students are seeing things that only college students are currently seeing. They're exploring and they're getting opportunities that are way above. They're going to explain to you some of the opportunities they have. But first, I'd like Dr. Sam to be able to come up and explain the genesis of this idea.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Schwetzenbaum. I'm the dental director at the Rhode Island Department of Health. Yeah, probably a couple years ago, I had visited the beautiful Thunder Mist Dental Clinic, and they shared that they had a lot of difficulty getting dentists. In fact, they were hiring dentists from Boston to come down and work in Woonsocket. So on my way back to Providence, I stopped at the high school. I said, when was the last time somebody spoke to the students about dental careers? And I met with Ms. Bacon, and I gave a presentation, but she said, I wish we could do more. And when I was on faculty at University of Michigan, there was a program for the high school students to come in and learn about all health careers by shadowing professionals. At the Department of Health, we got a grant from HRSA, the Health Resources and Service Administration, and we applied to use that to come back to Woonsocket and develop this pilot program. So this is the first year. The students will tell you about some of their experiences. They're going to a lot of different locations. Landmark has been wonderful, other locations, but what I'd like to say is there have been a lot of challenges along the way, and both Mr. Webb and Ms. Bacon have shown tremendous resiliency answering to the needs to get this pilot going. Next year it'll only be better. So thanks again for everybody's work to make this work. So here are the students.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys. I'm Dave Knoyer. I'm a third year at the Oak School, and I've actually been really enjoying this experience. I've gotten to go to the Landmark Wound Care area. That was my favorite one, actually, because I'm interested in trauma and want to be a flight nurse in the future. So I got to actually see a patient who had an amputated toe and was missing skin from infection, and I got to see them actually go and clean the wound, and I could see literally all the way down to his tendon. It was, he was in a lot of pain, but it was a great experience though. show, I got to actually see like what they do to treat stuff like that, and I got to learn a lot from that too. I've also been to the allergy and asthma physicians of Rhode Island. It's actually across from the Lincoln Mall, and I've been learning a lot from there. I've been learning about all about asthma and allergies and what causes allergies and how to treat allergies. It's just been a great experience rather than just being stuck in the nursing home all the time and cleaning old people or helping feed them. So it's been a great experience, in my opinion. I've enjoyed it a lot more than just going to the nursing home, and I'm sure they will say the exact same thing. It's been a great experience and a great opportunity.
Great. Thank you.
Good.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Rodriguez. I'm a third-year student at the Oak School for Health Careers. At first, I started at the WIC office, which at first I didn't really have much information on, so it was interesting to start there. They have nutritionists that work with kids who might not have the right nutrition, and they can kind of give them plans on how to eat better. And they actually have like certain items like apron and different things to kind of get them to get interested in wanting to experiment with different foods. Also, we were able to talk to a lactation consultant, which I also did with, and she was also able to tell us the different benefits of breastfeeding and how many women nowadays are afraid of breastfeeding, but there's also risks involved if they don't breastfeed. So that was also amazing to learn. The second place I went to, which is actually my favorite, is the rehab center for physical therapy because it was my second option. And physical therapy, it was very amazing because we got to see how they kind of developed different plans for people with work compensation who got hurt at their job. So basically they give them a plan to kind of prepare themselves if they've been off from a job for like a year, because most of the time, like after a year, whatever like muscles they had, they usually lose them. So they kind of give them different plans to gain everything back. And at first some of the patients were like complaining a lot, saying that they hated some boxes, and me and my friend were kind of confused as to why they hated the boxes. And then physical therapy actually let us do the same exercises as the patients so we can feel what they feel, kind of get a sense of empathy for what they're feeling in the pain. And it was very painful, and I complained a lot, and it was interesting to see how, like, you often think that why are they complaining so much about how it hurts, but after feeling it myself, I was like, wow, it really does give a big effect, and like, it's actually very painful. And overall, I feel like that's the biggest thing for me because I have lots of empathy for my patients, and overall, that's like my biggest experience, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Bertan Ayam. I am a third-year student at the health careers program in vocational school. And during this internship, I went to 3 landmark stations. And the first one I went to was landmark pharmacy. And that was very interesting because I actually got into the IV lab. They let me in there and put saline into an IV bag. It only took me 7 tries to perfect it, but it was really fun. Very interesting. And my second trip was to Landmark Wound Care, which David, he talks about the amputation, which is also very interesting to me too, because without this experience, I probably would have never seen an amputation like face to face. And right now, currently, I'm in Woonsocket, which is basically a checkup with kids and like adults with sickness and stuff like that. And without this experience, I probably would never, probably college, but besides, in my high school career, would not see anything like this. Thank you.
Good job.
Hi, I'm Ashley Mendez. I'm third year at the rotation school at Health Careers. So for my rotation, I go through different units in the laboratory, which is urinalysis, chemistry, processing, PA, blood bank. And one of my favorites was the PA because I got to observe the pancreas, gallbladder, which is like super small. It's like a ball. Like, you just throw it. But anyway, and then I saw a uterus without the ovaries because they cut it off like put a like surgery. And like they showed me how to cut it, scale it, and measure it. And when they told me like how they cut it, they told me what they look out for, like any like cancerous cells and stuff like that. And it was like really interesting. And for me, I thought like I wouldn't have liked it, but turns out like it didn't bother me as much. And I was like, oh wow, like this is really interesting. And then after that, like they put it in like a block, and then they have other people and they cut it and put it in a slide as like to preserve the tissues. But like, it doesn't have to be a tissue. It can be like stent, and they just like do like analysis, like just like explain like what it is. So I can show you the slide. And I have with me. But it's actually very cool. The doctor actually sees it in the microscope. Yeah. It's very colorful.
So that's it. If you have any questions, by all means, you can ask. But we want to thank Dr. McGee, who signed off on this and was behind us 100%, and the school committee, because the opportunity that these students are having is second to none. And they're opening up their eyes, and they're seeing different opportunities than when you're sitting in a classroom, when you're studying something, you actually get to go in and see what's going on. So thank you very much for your opportunity, listening to us.
Thank you. If there's anyone who would like to address the school committee, please come forward at the podium. State your name and your address for the record, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
You have to speak loud because the microphones somehow...
I will project my voice.
There we go.
All right. My name is Cindy Sapanian. I would use the 108 High Street address, but it's safe to say I can use my home address now. I am 155 Cider Mill Road in North Smithfield. My daughter attends the vocational school here, along at the high school, and is part of that fabulous program, and she loves it there. So last night was Denise and I, she's my other half here. I will start the presentation, she's going to finish it, because that's how we roll. We had our last final PAC meeting, which is the Parent Advisory Council of Woonsocket, and we just did a nice presentation. I have a copy here, if you may, or if I may, hand it out for you to keep. It was about an hour presentation, so I'm not going to take a whole hour here. I'm going to shorten it for you, and when you have a moment, you can look through there. PAC has been a vital tool to our community. In this presentation, we have highlighted the major events and workshops we have either presented, participated in, or partnered with area community organizations. What we presented last night at our PAC meeting, and as you can view in this handout, this is just a touch of what we have done. There are many behind-the-scenes works that many don't realize that we even do. We have advocated for full-day kindergarten, voiced to keep our passing grades at 70, rallied to keep certified nurses, supported teacher assistants to continue to have them in our early childhood classrooms, and supported our teachers within the district. We have put out social media fires such as bug infestations in the schools, cleared up situations, and communicated facts. And I highlight facts because we only deal on facts. No rumors, facts. To and from parents, such as when there was an outbreak of the swine flu, H1N1 virus back in 2009, and it advocated tremendously for a more adequate and organized summer reading program. It has been very difficult to communicate throughout this district with the lack of participation. The Parent Advisory Council is made up of the entire education community. Unfortunately, it has been hard in getting parent delegates from every school to each meeting. To be quite frank, it has been very difficult in getting parents to PTO and PTA meetings. For circumstances we don't know about, but this helps participate in our PAC meetings. All that is asked for in a delegate is to attend 4 meetings a year and to help communicate information to the council and then back again to their respective schools. Denise and I have exhausted ourselves in trying to get the participation going again. I do have to say, it's a 2 to 4 year term. We've been on this for 12 years. We don't want to see PAC go. We have gone as far as attending individual PTO and PTA meetings, participated at kindergarten registrations, freshman orientations, and the back to school at the middle school barbecues. Emailed and communicated through school principals, and spoke with administration to even talk us up at principal and teacher meetings. We hope PAC can eventually continue to be around to keep the communication and conversations going and moving forward. Please take a moment to read through our presentation. In addition to all our accomplishments, and there are many in there, this presentation gives a brief overview of what PAC's mission is, highlights our bylaws and officers, how representation works in the council, and how vital communication is throughout the district.
Luckily, we have just heard from Soren Seal, and he has agreed to step in and help PAC move forward. We will work closely with him in getting him all the information he needs and set him up for the next year's meetings. We have a lot of confidence that he will be able to not only continue PAC, but also bring fresh ideas to the table. However, he will need another co-chair and a recording secretary to run this council efficiently. This is not an easy task if he does not have the support from the school parents and the district as a whole. Our school parent organizations need help in getting the parents involved and attending their meetings. We ask that the administration and committee to help support and continue the conversations regarding parent involvement. Please do not give up on parent involvement, especially during this digital age. That's all I ask. We stress that the schools do their part in getting their parent delegates to the Parent Advisory Council meetings to help move this forward. We ask the principals and their parent organizations to start the conversation and elect a delegate before the end of the school year. Keep the conversation going by making sure PAC is on your monthly PTO or PTA agendas. Post updates in their newsletters and place an elected delegate into each school bylaws. This way, when new presidents and secretaries are elected within the organization, the information is formally handed on to the new officials that not only do they need their presidents, vice presidents, and their own secretaries, they need to have a PAC delegate there. In closing, we would like to thank the dedicated parents of our district, all the past co-chairs, including Carmen Bouchard, who has been there anytime the PAC needed help, the parent delegates, Superintendent Dr. Patrick McGee for his support over the years, Linda Filomeno, who has always been there for any type of parent involvement, the Woonsocket Education Department administrators, principals, and teachers, the Blackstone Valley Prevention Coalition, and community members and organizations who have participated in our meetings or partnered with us to bring meaningful workshops to our district. It has been a pleasure servicing the Woonsocket community, and working alongside many of you. I will leave you with our motto: PAC is a community coming together for the future of our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the school committee? Hearing none, why don't we go into recognition and announcements? Dr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to personally thank Cindy and Denise, as well as Carmen Boucher, for just the tremendous work that they've done over the years in the district with the PAC. The impact that they've had, when you do look through this packet, it's going to be amazing when you see all of the things that they've collaborated with the school department and the community to create. But it's the things that aren't in there that nobody will ever know that they did during the course of those 12 plus years. So on behalf of the Woonsocket Education Department, I want to thank the two of you, as well as Carmen, and all of those who were just so incredibly important in the success of the PAC. And it's good to hear that Mr. Seal is going to come back to the district, although he really was never gone, but to continue that long and strong tradition. So again, thank you very much, ladies. I also want to thank the health careers students, the tremendous students that were here, that are sitting back there this evening. And I want to thank Mr. Webb and Mrs. Bacon for their tremendous support. If it wasn't really for them, this program would not have been made available to our students. And as you saw this evening, we have such articulate and intelligent students. I'm just so very proud of their work and how they represent the Woonsocket Education Department. Next, I'm going to recognize a young lady here who is an 8th grade student from Hamlet Middle School. So and her name is Sherilyn McCollum. She's a true hero. We often hear the word hero. It's often used, sometimes a little too often. But on March 11th, while walking home from school, Sherilyn came upon a Woonsocket resident who was lying in a driveway not far from here on Bennett Street. The lady who was actually here this evening is Irene Frigon. So when Sherilyn came upon her, she noticed that Mrs. Frigon had a serious gash on her head, and along with another Good Samaritan, Sherilyn sat with Mrs. Frigon while 911 was called and waited with her until paramedics responded to the scene and took her to Landmark Medical Center. So it was on the front page of the paper, and so we thought it would be a great idea to invite Sherilyn here with her family and to present her with a Woonsocket Education Department certificate. And I'm going to read the certificate. It's the Woonsocket Education Department takes great pleasure in awarding this certificate to Sherilyn McCollum, Woonsocket Middle School student, in recognition of demonstrating a true act of kindness to a community member. It's signed by myself, as well as Chairman Bourget. So if Sherilyn would please come up to the stage, I would be honored to give her. And I have a gift that I'm going to go and give to you for now. So if you just stay right here, I'll be right back. Sherilyn,
Congratulations, Cheryl. Great job.
Miss Renegaldo, the principal of Hamlet Middle School, who is going to come up and is going to present some nice things. This is a great evening because we have students here that we're so proud of, and they're actually here in person to recognize them. You may probably are aware, because again, this was another announcement that was on the front page of the Woonsocket Call, but I want to congratulate our Woonsocket High School boys basketball team. This year, our boys basketball team reached the finals of the Rhode Island Open State Tournament. For those of you that aren't sure what that is, that's sort of like the NCAA tournament for Rhode Island, where you have boys basketball teams from a variety of high schools from all of the divisions in the state. Our student athletes they're actually here, and I'm going to announce them, those that are here. But our student athletes did had an amazing run. They beat Cumberland in the semifinals and faced a tough North Kingstown team in the finals, and unfortunately lost. But that does not take anything away from the tremendous season that they had this year, representing both Woonsocket High School and the Woonsocket community as a whole. So I'm going to announce all of the players. I don't know that all of them are here, but if I announce your name, if you please stand so we can recognize you, and coaches as well. So I'm going to start with Denzel Lyles. Okay. Jalen Lopez. Justice McLaurin. Dwayne Robinson O'Hagan. Marcus Harmon. Justo Colon. Zachary Smith. David Bissonat. Josue Hernandez. Eric Aguilar. Osman Koroma. Devin Bunn. Evelson Rodriguez. And the two head coaches, head coach TJ Ciolfi and assistant coach Dennis Harmon. So, again, congratulations to our student athletes, our coaches on a tremendous season. The Woonsocket High School and the Woonsocket Education Department and the Woonsocket community are very, very proud of you and what you accomplished this year. So thank you very much. Yes, so don't go anywhere, because we have the students from our culinary program at the Career Center, and they have some delicious bites back there for us to have. So as soon as I finish my good and welfare, we're all going to head over there for a little bite to eat. So don't go anywhere. Congratulations to the Woonsocket High School, Woonsocket Area Career and Technical Center debate team for their successful conclusion of an already exemplary season. At the Rhode Island Urban Debate Championship and National Urban Debate League qualifier held last Friday and Saturday, the Woonsocket team brought home a number of honors and awards. Woonsocket sent one junior varsity team comprised of Magda Wabi and Julie Dallenbar, who went undefeated in 5 rounds of debate, taking the first place team award in junior varsity. The Woonsocket Blackstone Academy hybrid team of Kyle Roberts from Woonsocket and Theo Alonzo from the Blackstone Academy also went undefeated in the first 4 rounds of varsity debate, losing in the semifinals to another Woonsocket varsity team comprised of Dulce Nunez and Hillary Billabong. Hillary and Dulce went on to the varsity finals round against the hybrid Central Mount Pleasant team coming in second. Kyle Roberts also received the second place varsity speaker award for the tournament and the third place varsity team award. A scheduling conflict will make it impossible for Hillary and Dulce to attend the nationals, but Kyle Roberts will be representing Woonsocket in their stead. This will be the 4th year in succession in which Woonsocket has sent at least one debater representing the Rhode Island Urban Debate League to the National Urban Debate Association Championships this year, which will be held in Washington, D.C. Congratulations to all debate team members on an extraordinary year. I would also like to thank Mr. Phil Simonini, who is a social studies teacher at Woonsocket High School, for his guidance and hard work in preparing the Woonsocket High School debate team. Mr. Simonini is here. If you would stand, Mr. Simonini, I would love to This past Saturday, Sodexo's Future Chef competition was held right here at Hamlin Middle School. 12 finalists from Woonsocket schools in grades 3 through 5 were made up of a group of very eager, courteous, and successful young chefs. I had the pleasure of being a judge, a tasting judge, as was Mrs. Nato and Mr. Burke. We had a wonderful time. The food was delicious. I was extremely full, but it was another fantastic competition that Sodexo put on. I want to thank Ellen Shalby from Sodexo and the wonderful staff that Ellen works with through Sodexo. They did a great job. I'm also going to name the top 3 place winners. 3rd place was a winner of a scooter and a helmet, and her name was Brianna Brown. She's from Leo Savoy Elementary School, and she cooked up a delicious Mexican rice bowl. So the 2nd place winner, who received a skateboard and a helmet, was Jaleesa Moyce from Vernon Heights Elementary School, and Jaleesa prepared zucchini boats. The 1st place winner of a bicycle, a helmet, and a prize pack was Kylie Gervais from Harris Elementary School, and Kylie cooked up vegan taco with rice and beans. I want to wish the best of luck to Kylie as her recipe moves her on to the state level competition. So good luck to Kylie when she gets to the state level. On Friday, March 8th, Channel 10 Health Check Kids Report spotlighted the Sodexo share baskets that are in place in all Woonsocket Education Department school cafeterias. Share basket in schools encourage kindness and mindfulness in our students. Students leave unwrapped food items or unopened beverages in the basket and coolers that are located in the cafeterias at each of our schools. Other students can then take those items from the basket. The share baskets make students more aware of being wasteful, of not being wasteful, and gives them an opportunity to make mindful decisions to share rather than waste food. This afternoon, I had the pleasure of attending a living wax museum at Vernon Heights Elementary School. 5th grade students from Mrs. Ferenti, Mrs. Esposito, and Ms. Hoard's classes dressed as characters such as Helen Keller, Muhammad Ali, Teddy Roosevelt. There were probably about 70 or so students who participated. They also did extensive research on their characters, and they presented their information at Vernon Heights in the cafeteria today to parents, family members, school staff, and there were Mrs. Kapiskas I saw there as well as Mayor Baldelli Hunt, who was able to attend. Great job to the Vernon Heights Elementary School 5th grade students and their teachers. On Friday, March 8th, I had the pleasure of visiting Harris Elementary School, where the 4th grade students from Mrs. Burns, Mrs. Latotsky, and Ms. Chinese displayed an end-of-unit ReadyGen exhibition on Native Americans. Most impressive was the higher order thinking in which students had to synthesize resources and information, which culminated in writing an opinion piece about why living in in their respective Native American tribe would be most fun. Students did a wonderful job of sharing their artifacts and creating a slideshow that listed facts from their respective tribe. Great job to the Harris Elementary School 4th grade students and their teachers. And lastly, I have the American Red Cross visited Harris Elementary School on March 14th and 15th and presented the Pillow Project. The Pillowcase Project, sponsored by Disney, is a preparedness education program for grades 3 through 5 that teach students about personal and family preparedness and safety skills, local hazards, and basic coping skills. Red Cross volunteers lead students to a learn, practice, share framework to engage them in disaster preparedness and survival skills. Upon completion, students receive a sturdy pillowcase in which to build their personal emergency supplies kit. Reading intervention teacher Nicole Schatz was the driver of this program, and I happened to be at Harris that day, and I happened to, one of the classrooms I just happened to pop into, didn't know they were there, popped in, and I was able to witness it, and it was great. The students were engaged, and the folks from the Red Cross did a wonderful job with our students. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I'm finished, and we're very fortunate to have some bites that our culinary students from the Career Center have prepared. So when you're ready to call a break, we'll head over there.
We have two things. First, I'll make a motion to receive and place on file their conditions and announcements. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make the motion to take a 5 to 10 minute break to enjoy Chef Paul's and the students' culinary delights. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go eat. I'll make a motion to come out of recess after that wonderful meal provided by Chef Paul and the students. Do I have a second? At 7:58. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Again, we want to congratulate Chef Paul and his students for providing this to us. Now we'll go on to the approval of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the March 13, 2019 open session minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Brooke and Mrs. Nato. Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget?
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Capwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mrs. Kapeskus?
I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any school committee person want to make any changes, take something out of order to the consent agenda? Roll call, Dr. McGee.
Chairman Bourget?
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke? Yes. Mrs. Capwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mrs. Kapeskus?
No communications except for all the wonderful recommendations you gave us, all the congratulatory remarks. Next we'll go into school committee reports. We'll start with the policy subcommittee. Vice Chair Burke or Mrs. Kapeskus? Whoever has the report, both of you. Mrs. Kapeskus. All right. Yes.
As usual, I show up when someone makes me chair. Opened up my mouth and I got appointed to the policy subcommittee. Now I'm the chair. So, we started talking at policy subcommittee. The first topic we discussed, we met on March 21st. The first topic we discussed was the diploma versus certificate situation with students on alternate assessment. That does appear later on in our agenda, so I'll probably defer the discussion of that later on as opposed to going over it here. There are some further issues that were raised with regard to that change, though, and its effect on the graduation rate. And it's a matter that I'm going to discuss with David Tienko and the other powers that be at RIDE when I attend my RISEAC meeting, because I'm also on a Special Education Advisory Committee for the state. So I have the ability to discuss with those people whether there's a different way to report these students who are receiving only certificates as opposed to diplomas, so it doesn't negatively impact our graduation rate, which in turn could negatively impact our school report card we run. I'm hoping to get information back after the next RISAC meeting in April. And eventually the plan would be to make the information with regard to the alternate assessment certificate versus diploma situation available through handbooks, the website, and to all students at IEP meetings. The second policy we discussed, which was actually the first on our agenda, was the transgender policy. I probably should have said that a certificate versus diploma policy is required by RIDE. We are required to have that, every district is. We are also required to have a transgender policy. There was apparently, before I was on the committee, there was a policy drafted a few years ago, but because of the lack of a quorum on the school committee at that time, nothing ever really came of it. And as a result of the change, we're now revisiting it. Attorney Cooper was present at our meeting. He discussed the policy as proposed. It was presented to us for the first time with the intent that we all take it home, review it, and come back with any comment at our next policy meeting, which is our intention. When we spoke to the administrator from the high school who was present, Brian Boulay, he indicated that at present there weren't any glaring problems that he was aware of, and basically students are self-reporting to the school nurse or whatever trusted school personnel they feel comfortable with to discuss any issues they have with regard to the transgender or transitional students as well. We discussed potential issues with regard to caps and gowns, because that's apparently come up in Mr. Burke's, was it your district? Somebody spoke about that the caps and gowns are all changed to one color now.
Yeah, my school district, yeah.
So that's something that we may be facing in the future, is a potential change to a one-color cap and gown, so it's not differentiating between genders at graduation. And then I raised an issue that's been ongoing since my daughter was in high school with regard to the music department uniforms, that students are basically required to wear, if they're registered as female, they're required to wear a gown. If they're registered as male, they're required to wear tux, no matter how they identify. And we're going to have to address all those issues with regard to the policy. So as a result, the policy was presented to us, we're reviewing it, making comments, and we will get back to that issue. And now how I ended up on this committee was because I raised some issues with regard to student-on-student and student-on-staff violence, and the fact that we're certainly aware that there are fights that go on in our schools every day throughout the district. And at this point, we don't really have an adequate policy to address that, how staff is supposed to respond to that violence, whether it's directed at other students or directed at staff. And that we need to develop a more robust policy with regard to that issue. At present, we have basically a policy that prohibits corporal punishment, which is woefully inadequate to address that issue. We're working on that issue. We're going to look at other districts to see what they have. Again, Attorney Cooper told us he was going to look into that. There was an issue raised with regard to our homeschooling policy and whether or not there's a tolerance, shall we say, for students to be able to, who are homeschooled, to be able to pick and choose activities that they participate in. The one that was raised was students who are homeschooled but want to come in and participate only in ROTC. And that can become difficult in terms of management of class size, that sort of thing. And that we're going to be looking to potentially address a better policy with regard to that. I raised my usual issue with regard to the National Honor Society around the Honor Society policy. And that's still ongoing to address the issue of how homeschool students will be dealt with and how students who are out of district will be dealt with. The next meeting of the policy committee is on April 11th at 4 p.m. at the Woonsocket Middle School at Hamlet in room 124. And the meeting, which commenced at 4:02, was adjourned at 4:40.
Thank you, Mrs. Kaviskis. Anyone have any comments or questions? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the policy subcommittee report. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mrs. Nato. All in favor?
Aye.
Great job. Next we'll hear from Mrs. Capwell regarding PAC.
Mr. Chairman. Last night, I attended the Parent Advisory Council meeting held here in Hamlet. The meeting was headed by co-chairs Cindy Stepanian and Denise Auclair. They took us back in time a decade and walked us through the many accomplishments of the Parent Advisory Council. The accomplishments are a result of an organization whose mission statement, as they noted, is a community coming together for the future of our children. And that has been supported by core values, and just a few that I noted as being evident, is that they have shown themselves to be trustworthy, influential, they are thoughtful and impassioned, they are problem solvers, and they take action and pride in those actions. They emphasized the importance of communication, as well as to not let senior night fall to the wayside. There are about 20 individuals in attendance, including Committeewoman Kapiskis, Dr. McGee, and Director Turiso, and the group went on through to make self-introductions. We did discuss a number of headwinds that were before us, one of being who would fill the large void that the departure of Cynthia Denise would leave. However, in true fashion of getting the job done, they have recruited a new chair, as noted, in their good and welfare, which is Soren Steele. We do have some work to do, which is then to find a co-chair and a reporting secretary, as was discussed, as well as the lack of parental involvement, which was a hot topic. We actively dialogued on possible root causes and how to deploy new ways of reaching parents. At a minimum, it was recognized that there is a need to educate parents as to PAC's role, the importance of the work, as well as to what the expectations are should they choose to participate. We then received an update from Dr. McGee on a number of topics ranging from RICAS testing and the level of importance that is being placed on preparing students for the taking of these tests, as well as plans that we are hoping to come to fruition in the near future for expanding the pre-K through a grant writing process with Head Start. We concluded the meeting with slight uncertainties as to the exact path forward, but with no uncertainties that the importance of the PAC and the wide-reaching impact must not be allowed to falter. Thank you.
Anyone have any comments or questions? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the PAC report. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Mrs. Nato. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There's no unfinished business, and before we do that, we're to bring this over to Mr. Perrier for your financial update. If you notice, we don't go through Dr. McGee anymore. We go directly to the source.
I like it, Mr. Chairman. I did a lot. So before you this evening is the February 2019 fiscal update. Just overall, to kind of talk about where we came from January, it's pretty similar. Not really a lot of changes for my February update, but we'll get into some of the details right now. On the revenue side, currently we're still projected to be on target for all revenues other than two categories. Rental income, which is currently projected to be $82,000 above budget, and Medicaid revenue, which is currently projected to be about $138,000 ahead of budget. Reimbursement through the program for special education expenditures has been better than originally anticipated. Right now, we have a $700,000 transfer scheduled to balance the budget as of right now. And to kind of tell you where we've come from on this, we were a little above $1.1 million back in November. So we have been very conscientious, I couldn't say it, conscientious. There we go.
You got it.
All right. About our expenditures, since that's happened, we've tried to keep the expenditures down where we can to cut down on the deficit, and we reduced it another $95,000 over what we projected last month. So I think we're again going to continue on this path, continue to be thoughtful about our expenditures, and hopefully continue to close this deficit as the year goes on. On the expenditure side, regular salaries are $1.74 million under budget at this time. Under budget at this time. And again, that is due to the budgeting process. We had money set aside for some contractual raises. We actually have started to, with the rollout of 1137, some of these are actually starting to hit the books now. So again, this goes from encumbered expenses to actual expenses now that we've settled one of the contracts.
Right.
Also, the employee vacancies have actually gone down quite a bit this month. have filled quite a few positions. So our vacancies are actually down, and we didn't see the same increase month over month as we did the prior month in terms of pickup on salaries. So that's good. Filled positions are what we're looking for here. Medical expenses are currently 1.37 million over budget. Now that is a slight tick up over what we're projecting in January. It's about $600,000 up on the last projection. This was a kind of a rough month, I guess. Not super rough, but I think we have a new norm, kind of looking at the trends over the last year. We really haven't come back down to the numbers that we were running, the weekly bills we were running the last fiscal year. So I think we need to recalibrate going forward in terms of the budget. And that's something that I'll certainly be addressing going into fiscal year 20 when we present the budget to you then. At this time, through the orders of medical, we still have not booked any OPEB transfer money. That's $525,000 we've cut out of the fiscal year 19 budget. Our out-of-district tuition is currently $956,000 over budget, but actually this has been improving month over month as well. The special ed department has done a great job about bringing students back in the district, and the projections we were running earlier in the year have actually decreased. So I'd like to thank the special ed department for doing a great job with that and keep up the good work. Transportation, while the out-of-district is over budget, transportation for those students is going to be over budget, and that continues to be over budget as well by $602,000. But that's decreased as well, again, because we pulled back the students. The deficit that we're looking to run there has decreased as well. So it's good all around here. And finally, the last note that I have is in relationship to our HVAC. We're still a little over $200,000 over budget. But I would expect to see this improve as well, because now we're out of the heating season. I would expect us to see pick up on this line as we continue through June. So now that we're not going to be needing heating, hopefully in the next month or so. But you never know. You never know. So overall, this currently leaves us with a $928,000 overall deficit for the general fund, and that has been reduced month over month of about $77,000. So we continue to make up ground. I think this will be a strong, we're going to finish strong this year. We're going to continue to be thoughtful about what we're doing, and we're going to continue to close this deficit the best we can.
I've got just a couple of things, Mr. Perrier. When you say it's 927, if I look at the detailed schedule, the presentation, not the roll of the presentation schedule for the line,
Yep.
we're showing actually income surplus of 10,008.
Correct.
But we would have to add to that the 700,000 that we took out of the, if we didn't take out that 7.
Yeah, it's about a $690,000 deficit.
That's it. It's not 927. I think the 928 we're taking out the expense, the total expenditures.
Oh yeah, that's expenditures over budget. That's what that 928 represents.
But the budget itself is roughly some 700,000.
Correct.
Deficit.
Correct.
Which is still an interim period, and we will continue to monitor that because we don't know what's going to happen with the medical. I mean, last year, which was $6.5 million, I think some of the procedures, or I want to say some of the illnesses, almost got delayed into this year, into the first quarter. Because, like you said, I think we have a new norm, and we're going to have to budget accordingly.
Correct. That's kind of how it's looking this year. Again, my first year here, when we were dealing with this was kind of a 6-month blip. And then starting the second half of the year, everything kind of returned to quote-unquote normal levels. And we really stayed around that $200,000 a week expenditure for our bills. But as of late, it's just not consistently, we're not consistently hitting that number. It's just not happening. So, yeah, I think some recalibration is certainly going to be in order for fiscal year 20.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Perry, I remember, I don't know, it was 2 years ago, we had a high deficit, but I think you were able to save it from medical expenses. We over budget?
Absolutely. Well, we were actually, it was kind of similar to this. We were way over on medical, but back then we were really running a lot of vacancies. We were just, when I first started here, we had a lot of vacancies. think we were upwards of 30 vacancies and some 30 to 40 vacancies, and that alone helped us close the budget deficit that year. And also, we weren't spending anywhere near what we spent on technology, on building improvements my first year here. It was very bare bones coming out from the Budget Commission. So because it was so cut back, and because we actually had an increase in funding over what was budgeted before I came in here, we were still able to balance the budget that year.
So I guess my question is, what do you see saving us this year?
I think we're just going to continue to watch what we're expending, be vigilant about that, and again, we'll have some pickup in salaries as the year goes on because you're always going to have a few vacant positions. So you have that pickup in salaries and that filters down through your benefits. And then as for some of my other projections, again, I'm hopeful, we don't need all that money for repairs down the road that I have currently built in now, but we'll have a pickup on that, maybe we'll have a small pickup on some supplies areas, and that kind of thing. So, we do have this covered. I want to be clear that we do have this covered in our fund balance. So even if the year ended today, we wouldn't be in a really terrible position because we do have this money currently available to us in fund balance to balance the budget this year. So I don't think getting back to zero is probably going to happen, but I think we can get close. I think we can reduce this, and if we kind of continue at the rate that we have been, I think I see this getting a little bit better. So I don't see it getting worse. I think it's very well put together in terms of encumbrances for the rest of the year. I mean, there always could be a surprise. You don't know, particularly with medical, but it's just something that we're going to continue to watch and go forward with a year of month over month.
Let's remember, a few months ago, we allocated $1.1 million in reserve to the operating results to show that we had a very slight surplus for this year, or even a break even. So right now, we've reduced the amount of reserve that we need, but if you didn't attach the reserve at all, take it away from the balance sheet, we'd still be at a $700,000 deficit. So as we continue to reduce that, there'll be less reserve that we need to use. But thank God that we had the good years, really good years, when the state funding was increasing. We've watched our pennies, not just the dollars, but our pennies, so we would have the reserve in times like these.
And not only that, I think catching this early in the year has helped us as well, because we've been able to take the appropriate actions to help counteract that. So I think I can see that as the financial updates continue month over month, that we're going to continue to be restrictive about what we're doing and just reduce this deficit to the best of our abilities.
We're not going to incur what happened years ago. I mean, right now we have good accountability. We have an excellent director of finance. We have a good accounting staff, and the school committee gets to see numbers every single month, on time, every month. And so we're not only looking at the month ending, but we're also looking at year to date. We're comparing it against the prior year in the budget. So we're always getting good, solid information in terms of how we look at our numbers, how we evaluate our numbers. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? If not, I'll make a motion to receive and place on file a financial update. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Capwell. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss make a discussion on the Central Office Administrator's Evaluation Instrument. Is there a second? Second. Dr. McGee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each committee member has the document on your Chromebook, and so I'm going to just give a little bit of a background before I talk about this particular instrument. So when I became superintendent 5 years or so ago, there was at the time an evaluation instrument that was utilized for central office administrators. That tool was not really relevant to many of the central office administrators in their departments. So what I did is I went to a SMART goal process where each central office administrator would create 2 to 3 SMART goals. SMART goals being it's a goal that they set for themselves that's related to the different, well, it would number 1 be related to the district strategic plan, and also related to any topics or areas that they wanted to focus on within their specific department. And those goals, they're specific, measurable, attainable. So I had them create those, and then what I would do is, at the end of the year, we would sit and I'd create a narrative. Basically, the administrator would provide me with evidence of the attainment of the goal, and we would confer at the end of the school year. The one thing that lacked was indicators and descriptions. So what I did earlier this year is I reached out to the Rhode Island Superintendents Association to see if they could provide me with samples of instruments that school districts are currently using in Rhode Island. And I received a couple of them from Tim Ryan and Tom DePaula, who's the Executive Director of the Superintendents Association. So what you have here is one of those samples that's actually being used in some districts in Rhode Island. And what this has, as I said, is it has indicators. For example, it has communication. It has the description of what the communication indicator should measure. And then there's a rubric, a 1 to 4 rubric that goes from needs much improvement to exceeds the standard. It's kind of sideways, and I apologize for that. You're going to have trouble with kink in your neck. Yeah, I apologize. And then it goes to organization and time utilization is the second indicator, problem solving, fiscal responsibility, responsiveness, staff management and development, professionalism and integrity, professional growth and development, task completion and quality of work, and finally, modeling shared leadership vision. So what will happen is the administrator will complete this self-assessment for the end of in the spring, toward the end of the school year, and they'll provide evidence based on what they've scored themselves in each of those indicators. And then in the beginning of this school year, they still created SMART goals. So that's not going to change. This is just an addition to that. So what we'll do is we'll sit and we'll review their SMART goals to see whether or not they attain the goal. And sometimes a SMART goal isn't necessarily for 1 year. A SMART goal, sometimes they go from year to year. So, and that's a conversation that we have at the beginning of the year. But we'll sit down, they'll provide the evidence, and then I will go through the evidence and the indicators and the descriptions, and then I will score each one of these, and that will be held at the end of the school year in a end-of-year conference. So the difference between what I'm doing now and what I am looking to do is that there are actual indicators with descriptions for each of these areas.
And this form will be used to sit down with the individual to have an evaluation session?
Correct. Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Question?
Dr. McGee, are you implementing it this spring?
Yes. Yes.
So the directors will be judged on this particular?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
My only question is, did the directors know as the year began that these were going to be the factors they were going to be evaluating on?
So we did earlier this year during one of our...
See, Dr. Sullivan nodding and says yes.
Okay, because it's like when you give a test.
Right, yes.
Right? You don't give a test of things you don't
Right.
appear.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, so I did go over this with them at a director's meeting, so that they're aware of this
beginning of the
Yes.
new year. So the first time you're seeing them is not at the end.
Exactly,
Okay,
yes.
got it. Thanks.
Anything else? I'll make a motion to, no, there's no need, we're not voting, we only discuss. Thank you, Dr. McKinney.
You're welcome.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve revisions to the alternate assessment diploma policy. Dr. McGee. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Vice Chair Burke. Here we go. Dr. McGee.
So this one's not on its side. This one is right side up for you.
It's tough to read.
No, it is. I was going to take my computer and just turn it, but I figured, my nose would get a little tired. So as Mrs. Kapiskis said earlier at the policy subcommittee meeting, Dr. Sullivan presented the special education alternate assessment diploma criteria, which if you go through this document, we're not going to go through the entire document, but I will point out on the, looks like it's the third page, and at the top of that page, it says special education alternate assessment course of study proposal life skills. So these would be the courses that the students would be taking that are alternate assessment in the alternate assessment program. And it lists next to the course the number of credits that they would receive and also a description of the course that they would be taking. And the courses starts with life skills courses, and it goes to English language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and then the transition program, which is the TransPro program, which is offered to our students between the ages of 18 and 21. And that's what Mrs. Kapiskis was referring to in terms of the graduation rate and how sometimes well, not how sometimes, how it has been affecting us adversely, because we sometimes have a cohort of maybe up to 8 or 9 students who are in the TransPro program, which is a very good program. And but unfortunately, the Department of Education, when we go in and categorize students that are in that program, it counts against us. So, and Mrs. Kapiskis said that she stated earlier is going to be speaking with David Cienko to see if there's some way that RIDE can provide some support to us, because it's not fair that we're providing this opportunity for our students when we're actually being penalized, if you will, for the graduation rate. So hopefully we can come to some resolution with the Department of Education, because that would be very, very helpful to us. I mean, it can sometimes mean the difference between 2 percentage points, depending on 2 or 3, depending on the number of students. There's also
Dr. McGee, I think you also need to say that those 8 students, they are delaying they run the diploma, they are delaying getting their diploma until they finish the transition program. They get a certificate, but they're read by RIDE as not you get the diploma.
Right.
That's why I first
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
So they earned the diploma.
they haven't physically received it because they're still in the program. And then if you scroll down a little farther, the alternate assessment portfolio, it goes through the different parts of that portfolio for our students on alternate assessment. I'm not sure, Dr. Sullivan, if you had anything that you wanted to add to the requirements.
Yeah, just that originally when we talked about doing this, we were going to reduce the number of portfolio pieces down to 6. But when we started looking at it, we felt that we needed to actually go up to 24, so we can look at 6 different areas that they're in. These aren't separate portfolio pieces like other students do, but these are kind of team projects that they do for the most part with their IEP team. But what it does is show along the continuum through the 4 years that they're in high school, the progress they're making towards life skills and towards getting employment opportunities.
So we're going from 6 to 24? Is that what you just, maybe I
It's
misheard?
from 9 to 24. We used to have 9, but we're going from 9 to
And
24.
I thought, you know, having gone to the CLAC meetings, I thought we were talking about going from 9 to 6.
We were originally, but then when the team met at the high school, like, it turned out, in order to, if we do these 24, it shows the real progression, and the kids, you can see their skill development from 9th to 10th to 11th to 12th grade, and it gives a much better picture of them, and we felt it was a lot more valuable.
Wow. Anyone have comments? Dr. McGee, roll call vote.
Chairman Bourget? Yes. Vice Chair Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Capwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mrs. Kapiskas?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. McGee, for your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just going to provide the committee with an update, the RICAS update. So the RICAS, just as a quick review, RICAS is given to students in grades 3 through 8 in English language arts and mathematics. In grades 10, students are taking the PSAT. In grade 11, they take the SAT. The testing window, or the amount of time that the Department of Ed gives school districts to assess students for the ELA portion, goes from April 2nd through May 4th, and the math sessions go from April 3rd through May 25th. So what we've done here in the district is we're prepared, we're ready to go. We'll be starting, some schools will be starting on April 2nd, some will be starting a little bit later. So all schools, and I'll take out the elementary schools, they're not necessarily doing the same assessments at the same time on the same days. They create their own schedule for the RICAS, and they all have done that. Middle school as well has done that. Each school has also provided opportunities for their students and teachers to utilize what's called released items, and those are samples of questions so that the students are prepared and that they're familiar with the types of questions that they're going to see on the RICAS. Now that's something that even though we utilize a period of time prior to the RICAS assessment for our students to become familiar and practice those items, it really is something that we try and we encourage our teachers throughout the course of the year to utilize those types of questions just in the assessments in general that they give their students, because what you don't want to do is just 2 weeks prior to the assessment say, hey, here's what you're going to see. It doesn't give them enough time, and they don't get used to seeing those types of questions. So that's something that we do across the district, but we do use the released items as sort of a guide so that they're familiar with what they're going to see. Our schools also across the district have been working with their students to get them, to encourage them to do well, providing incentives, having assemblies. So our principals have been doing, and our teachers and staff have been doing that with them. I know specifically, like at the middle schools, the principals and the leadership team, they've been meeting with teams of students, every team, and they've actually gone over last year's RICAS scores so the kids can actually see, how they did. And it was quite interesting in, getting some anecdotal information from, Ms. Rinaldo and Mrs. Granado, that some kids were just truly appalled at how we fared. And our hope is that they're going to see this and they're going to say to themselves, I'm going to take this seriously. Because what happens in some instances is that students will just rush through it. They don't care because they don't see the effect that it's going to necessarily have on them. But by sitting down with these teams and going over their scores, it shows them, if you're capable, why aren't you trying? Why aren't you putting forth an effort so that you show people that, something, our Woonsocket students can fare well on these assessments. So we're hoping that by doing that, it's going to, change the, the effort that they put into the RICAS assessment. The sessions, so as I said, there's an English language arts session and a math session. The ELA session lasts 120 minutes, and the math one lasts 90 minutes. That's actually shorter from the previous assessment, the PARC assessment. And both of those ELA and math assessments, they have there are two sessions that they use to complete that. The types of questions that students will see throughout the course of the RICAS, they'll see multiple choice questions, they'll see fill in the blanks, written responses, and essay responses as well. We also have students, we were just looking at the alternate assessment information. Our students that are on alternate assessment, they're assessed with what's called a DLM, which is a dynamic learning plan. It's a little different from what our general ed students will see in the RICAS. And their testing window is April 8th through May 24th. And the DLM, the dynamic learning maps, are provided in ELA to students in grades 3 through 8 and in grade 11. And in math, it's grades 3 through 8 and 11 as well. And then in science, there's also a science DLM that our students will be receiving, and that's in grades 5, 8, and 11. So that's sort of an update in terms of where we are. The principals have sent out with their school messenger email system their weekly updates to parents, and have notified the parents when the RICAS is going to take place, and many of them have also provided tips to parents, with respect to preparing at home their children to take the RICAS. I'll also be sending home to all parents in the district, probably Friday or so, just a letter, just letting them know that RICAS is starting, and I'll use some of the things that the principals have sent out in terms of tips, that parents can utilize to hopefully prepare their children to be successful when they take the RICAS next week.
Dr. McGee, although overall our test scores have not been where we want them to be, right? Now, do we have a certain portion of that population of students that do well in RICAS?
We do. There are, yes, we do have some subgroups that do fare better.
So one of the things we were tending to look at, what I'd like to do, what I'd like to get is a list of, to look at honor roll students, say in the 7th grade, and see how they did in their last RICAS test. Because one of the questions that I get often is, how in the world can we say that we have good curricula, but our testing is poor? There's 1,000,001 reasons, but one of the things I want to focus on is the children who are doing well in school. So I don't care if we're picking, I don't care which grades, but I picked 7 because it's right smack dab in the middle school. 7, we have 6, 7, and 8. So take the 7th grade honor roll students and compare that against their RICAS tests. They did well overall. If all of them, it's not going to be all of them, but if you had a good portion that are doing well, then you can say, well, the good students, the ones that are really working hard and being successful, let's say being successful, well, they're testing well. And we know we have to do some work, but at least we know. But if most of the honor roll students are doing very poorly, that just opens another box of questions in terms of how well are our curriculums doing. And I'd like to do this before the end of the year, to take a look at and start focusing, because when you say, well, we have the poor testing, but we have good students, well, wait a minute. It doesn't fly. There has to be a correlation between testing and performance, I would think. And so I'd like to get that information for our next meeting. So we can take a look at that, especially now that we're in the RICAS season. it would be good to know what we're going to have to do, if anything, with our curricula come the following year. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chair Burke.
Thank you. You keep talking about a testing window. Now, does that, I guess I'm going to take you on this. So the RICAS test for, let's say, third grade is not given to every third grader in the state at the same time?
So RIDE provides a testing window, which is an amount, a number of days that districts have to administer the assessment. Now, in addition to the assessment being taken, there are also, districts have to build in makeup days because there are students that are not present when the actual assessment is given. So those are typically, are always scheduled at the end of that window. So any student that missed the date that they had to take the RICAS, make up at the end of that window. So to answer your question, yes. So not everybody, not every school is doing an ELA RICAS assessment on the same day, but they have to get them in within that window, that period of time.
So Woonsocket schools have a RICAS test. Cumberland schools will have a different RICAS test? It's the same test?
Yes, it's just different.
What's the security in terms of someone not knowing what other schools are doing? I mean, the reason why I say that is today in Massachusetts, every 10th grader in the state took the ELA MCAS test. Everybody, for security reasons. So. But what I think is spread out. And it's the same test. You understand my question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, because you could have one district or some students who could bring the questions and answers to the ones who are going to take it next week, and the week after, or the week after that.
So if that's the case, how can one school be judged against another school district in terms of the system that they have? Unless I'm missing something here, I don't know. We need an expert to fill us in here.
I'm good.
I'm going to use my loud.
Yeah, use your loud.
This
Doesn't seem
is,
to
you
work
need loud,
at all.
that's not working
Yeah.
at all.
So when they moved to an electronic assessment, the test bank is so large that students that are sitting in the same proximity have a varying assortment of questions. So the question bank is huge. So the idea that a student would take a test and go home and say to another student, I had this question, it's unlikely that they would have an identical test.
Okay.
So it minimizes that. Prior to coming into RICAS testing, Rhode Island did have a very similar framework where districts were asked, not at a state level, but at a school level, to assign a grade level a specific date and time to take the test. So all third graders in this district would have been taking PARC testing at the same day, at the same time. That changed with this framework because it was the first time we had the opportunity to have an electronic platform that could offer a large assortment of questions.
Some of these questions, since it's a bank and Mr. Burke gets a set of questions, I get another set of questions, and the ones I get are real easy. And the ones that Mr. Burke, you need a PhD to answer these things. You're going to take off your shoes when you do the math.
Yeah.
How do we know they're all
Because they're
same footing?
Well, because they're based specifically on Common Core strands. So the questions, although they might be different, are each drawn to a specific strand. So the level of complexity of each question is rated. So, and balanced. So there shouldn't be an opportunity for a student to have a test advantage because one test is easier than the other.
So when Woonsocket gets its testing, it's electronic.
It's electronic.
Have you checked to see that our students are getting the same questions, or could
So-
some of our students get?
That's a really interesting question. Part of the proctoring is that we're not supposed to be doing the test. When it's not released, until it becomes, those released items become released, the teacher should be proctoring and walking around the room and ensuring that students are paying attention and completing the tasks. But because they are secure tests,
we are not supposed to read the actual test. So that's one issue. But one of the main factors is unless you have a test accommodation that requires you to take a paper test, that doesn't exist anymore.
That was just a
Saying,
question.
how do we know, excuse me, how do we know that Woonsocket is getting the right spread of questions versus Cumberland or Smithfield, or the urban districts are getting whacked?
Well,
how do we know that if you never see the test?
well, you
Okay,
do
compare
see it after, so you're always able to look back, and you're also able to look at an item analysis of every question that was asked and how our students performed on that question. But the psychometrics that are used to design the test electronically are such that, yeah.
Psychometrics?
And to be honest, that's what it's called, psychometric testing. Involves a level of complexity for questions that's designed in such a scientific manner that it's supposed to rule out that process. We would have to have someone come in far greater at scientific test design than me to explain that.
How about this? Have you looked at the different tests, and have you been satisfied that the levels, the questions asked at a certain level, certain classes are okay?
Yes. In fact, we attended workshops when they first rolled out not only PARC testing, but then RICAS testing that showed us and demonstrated the technology, the platform, as well as the design of the test items to ensure equity. And it was a fairly lengthy process that they went through with this test design. And it's something, even though it's new to us, the design itself has existed in Massachusetts for quite some time. Mr. can speak to.
Now, this is our second year going through it, right?
This will be our second year.
Our second year with the RICAS.
Yes. Yes.
How come I don't feel comfortable?
I don't think any of us do, to be honest with you.
Psychometrics? It's science. Psycho. It starts with psycho. Stop. I just don't know.
I don't think any of us feel quite comfortable with it, and
I can't believe our testing is that bad. Our results are that poor. Let's say it that way. When we see students from K to 12 doing very well in class, so it's mind-boggling to me, parents, teachers, everyone in the city, to try to figure out, and I'm sure that the urban centers and the other cities are doing the same head-scratching as I'm doing, is how in the world can that be? It doesn't make sense to me.
Mr. Burke, you could probably speak to the fact that Massachusetts has been working at this for 25 years.
Correct.
And this is our first at bat.
Correct.
I understand what you added, but it's...
Yeah.
We take the test and say, all right, kids, this is how you did. And I'm not so sure.
It's a very rigorous assessment.
Yeah.
But at the root of it is a need for us to teach differently, to show students how to interface more appropriately with text. It requires a different skill set than we've ever taught before.
I agree with that.
Many of the things that the new programs that we're putting in place are intended to address that. We're using, at the middle schools, for example, 2 programs that are adaptive so that all students have the opportunity to interface at their own lexile or reading level, but also have an opportunity to be challenged with text that they will encounter on these texts and to be able to learn strategies to interface with those. So that's one thing we're trying to do at the middle schools, and it is showing growth. So one of the factors of RICAS now that we're looking at isn't simply proficiency, which all of the other assessments did.
Right.
Growth is now really important to us. So we are using tools that are showing growth, but we're not going to go from a proficiency level that's this low to this high overnight. It's going to take quite a bit of time. In addition to that, the new reading series that we're using at the elementary level gives students opportunities to interface with complex texts as well. It's going to take a while. There are plenty of things that we put in place, as Dr. McGee spoke to, that are about motivation, that are about reasons for taking the test more seriously that we're putting in place that certainly should have an impact.
Sure.
But as far as moving the efficiency meter, that's a very heavy lift that's going to take us a bit of time, but we're not going to give up on it.
Good, good.
And finally, the state has to remain consistent and not keep changing the tests every couple of years, which means then the schools have to change their approach to how they take the test every couple of years. The success of Massachusetts is that it remained consistent.
It did. And there were some legislative pieces there, too, that don't exist in Rhode Island. But we do have a new commissioner, so.
So there may be more changes.
Maybe another test. Anyone else? I'll make a motion to place on file the superintendent's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Nato. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? At 8:51. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone, for sticking it out.